Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, welcome to another lecture. In this class, we are going to continue with Unit 2 of Education, Class 12, Nagaland Board. The chapter that we are doing in this lecture is Growth and Development. So in my last lecture, we have clearly understood the difference between growth and development. We've discussed the various definitions which have been released by the famous psychologists, the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Webster's Dictionary, and we have also learned the implication of growth in oneself and the characteristics of growth. Now, in this lecture, we shall first begin with the aspects of development. Aspects of development means what all changes are initiated by development. When I talk about the term development, which means the behavioral changes that are noticed in one, the betterment, the maturity level that increases in a person. So that is what is known as development. And we also know by now that development is a continuous process. It is going to begin the moment you are an embryo and continues till you die. So what are the different areas that development focuses on? In a human being, what all changes are brought over by development? The first such aspect of development is the physical development. Now, the change in how our brain works, the changes in our body, the changes in our capabilities, in our capacities, the changes in the way we walk, the changes in the way we talk, the changes in which, the way we listen to people, all these changes, are termed under the physical development of something. Other than physical development, we also have the intellectual development. Intellectual, again, intellect means your mental processes. How much development has taken place with respect to your mental abilities. You've become a better learner. Your memory has got better. You have gained better reasoning and thinking skills. Your language has improved. Your confidence level has improved. There has been a change in your vocabulary and the ease with which you are able to retrieve the things you have learned. All these are a part of your intellectual development. So physical development has intellectual development also, which means the changes that will take place in our brain, in our capabilities, in our learning aptitudes, our thinking skills, our reasoning, and so on and so forth. The next aspect of development, which is very important, is the personality and the social development. We always say that a person who is wise, there is a very old saying in English, Gautam Buddha, for example, a very wise man, an intellectual person, he had a glow, he had an aura around him, he was a sage, and therefore with his presence, everybody was enlightened around, right? And why did this take place? Because of the development in him and his personality. He grew with age. He got more and more knowledge. He got more and more learning. And that is why he was considered to be a sage. He was considered to be one of the wisest and the most intellectual people who existed. So, when we talk about development, a person who portrays better behavioral changes, a person who puts forth a better way to deal with the hardships, a person who has a better control over the way they express their emotions, a person who knows how to get along well with everyone, a person who is adaptive in nature, a person who understands how important it is for one to be empathetic. Empathetic means to put yourself in the shoes of others and then understand what they are going through. So all these changes are going to groom the personality of a person. These changes are going to bring over a positive change in the personality. They are going to improve the social aura of that person. So development leads to a better personality and a better reasoning also. Next aspect of development that we have is moral development. Very important because this development is very much needed nowadays. Moral development means when a person with, growth in years and with better experiences and better understanding learns to differentiate between what is right, what is wrong, knows what all habits are obsolete, what habits need to be said goodbye to, and what are the new and the better habits that we need to involve in our lives, understands the importance of taking a stand when required, understand that superstitious beliefs and all these taboos need to be put aside. So these are all the moral changes, the moral development that a person is going to gain with years. And then is spiritual development. As I have already touched upon this, with the passage of age, a person feels more connected with God. Okay? A person feels that all the materialistic things that we have around us, money, a luxury car, a better home, good and latest fashion clothes, a high level mobile phone, all these things are going to matter less. And what is more important is the fact that one should be refined in one's feelings. One should be self-reliant in nature. One should be connected with God and understand the importance of being calm and patient and being satisfied with whatever they have rather than demanding more and seeking more. So these are the different aspects or the different changes that will take place when we develop. We are going to develop intellectually, we are going to develop morally, we are going to develop socially and have a better personality, and also spiritually we are going to develop. Next, we are going to talk about the characteristics of development. What are the things that lead to development? Experience and maturity. As I already stated, the more the experience a person has, the better would be the learning of that person. As I told you, I gave you the example of our grandparents. Since our grandparents are more experienced, therefore they are wiser than even our parents. Then our parents are more experienced, they are wiser than us. We are more experienced than our kids, so we are wiser than them. So, experience adds to a level, adds some more learning to your bag. It makes you mature. It makes you more understanding and sensible. And that is how a development can be seen in one's personality. As we've repeated again and again, we know by now that development is a continuous process. It does not come to an end. You will continue to develop at every stage of your life. It does not halt at puberty. When a child reaches the age of puberty, when the biological changes start taking place in a child, the boys start having beard and mustache. A girl might notice the outbreak of a pimple on her face. So these are the changes of you hitting a puberty. So development is something that is not going to stop when you reach the age of puberty. It increases you intellectually. It brings about a betterment in the way you think. It brings about a betterment in the way you act. And a betterment in the way on how you deal with the people around you. So all these things are taken care of by development. And again, as we have laid this point very straightforwardly, that the environment, the external features, they lay a very important role in your development. If a child is born into a house where, there is no learning which is imparted to the child, there is nobody to tell the child some stories from Panchatantra, some moral giving tales and everything. And on the other hand is a child who from every small acts that he or she does during the day is being told what they have learned new in life. So there is going to be a change in the development pattern of both these children, quite obviously. So your environment plays a very important role in your development. Now, learning, as I already told you, is a presupposition for development. The more you learn, the better you develop. Whatever small thing you do, if you decide to learn something good from it, you are certainly going to develop yourself. There are going to be multiple hardships that you might face in your life. There would be prolonged illnesses that you might be dealing with. There might be circumstances where you would feel yourself to have failed miserably. But when alone, if you try and find out what you have learned out of them, those learnings are going to help you move a step forward, are going to help you proceed further, and that makes you develop. Development is again difficult to measure because it is not quantitative. We cannot say the person has developed 10% or 20%. No. Mental development would occur even without physical growth. We know that by now. A person may be short-heighted but could be wiser than a person who's maybe 6 feet tall. So your physical growth does not does not hamper your mental development, and vice versa. There are various aspects of development. We have learnt about them: moral, intellectual, social, spiritual. It is a spiral development. Now, what do I mean by spiral in nature? It is not linear, as I said. Let's say a child from the age of 3, a child starts learning something new. At the age of 5, it is not expected that since the age has grown, so the child must have developed better. No, there is a possibility that the child would have learned something at the age of 3, would have learned something at the age of 4, and between the ages of 4 and 5, the child was still stuck with whatever learnings he has, inculcated. So no new learning, no new development has taken place, and the child is still happy with what he has. So the age of 5, 6, 7 go just like this, with the child not learning anything new but just embracing whatever he has learned in the previous years. Then comes the age of 15, let's say. Child gets to know more things, the worldly ways, better knowledge of the people and the world around him or her. So again, there is a development that takes place. Now, till the age of 15, the child has got to know a lot about the world around him or her. And let's say that for the next 2 years, There is no new development again that takes place in the child, and whatever the child has learned, he or she is perfecting himself or herself in that. So, development is spiral in nature. It is not in straight line that we are going to learn, develop. No. We might learn something, we might develop ourselves, then we may stop. And we may try and embrace and become perfect with what we have developed already. Then we will start and learn something new. We will develop a new personality in ourselves. Then we will again stop and we are going to, become perfect in what we have learned. And like this, the spiral will continue to. So this is what we understand by spiral development. And as we know, development means a person learns to adjust himself or herself with the environment. The environment keeps on changing. Everything around you keeps on changing. Nothing is constant. Nothing is stationary. So one has to learn to change according to the environment, according to the changes around.